Hello, this video is going to show a technique that I haven't done before called emboss resist with black. I've done emboss resist in a video before, but I've never really did this before. This is my very first attempt, and I saw a couple of places where I could make a couple of improvements, and I'll go through that with you on the new card. So let me go over the materials that I'm using. I have a card base cut 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. I have 2 white mats cut 4 inches by 5 1/4. I have 1 panel of watercolor paper. In this case, I'm using Bristol watercolor paper. This is cut 3 inches by 5. And I have a piece of fun foam, which is cut 2 3/4 by 4 3/4. So it's a little bit smaller than that one, than the watercolor panel. The ink I'm using today is Versafine Onyx Black, and I'll be using distressed ink, black soot, and I will also need a blending tool for the distressed ink. I'm also using Versamark watermark stamp. This is for the embossing, and I'm using 2 distress stains by Ranger, Tim Holtz, Twisted Citron and Abandoned Coral. I'm using 2 stamp sets today, Crazy About You, Stampin Up, and also Something to Celebrate, also Stampin Up. I'll be using rhinestones and a bow, and because I'll be doing some embossing with my clear embossing powder, I need to use my embossing tool. So let me get this stuff cleared away, and I'll show you how to do this technique. This video might be a little bit longer, but it'll be very worth it to add this ability to your card making repertoire. The first step will be to put some color on my watercolor panel. I am going to use the distress stain to just lay color where I think I'm going to put the flowers. I don't need to wet this watercolor paper at first. I'm just going to go right on it directly to the paper. And I want another one in this corner. Just give a little squeeze to get a little bit more ink. This technique works best with bright, vivid colors. And I need to give that a little squeeze. There we go. Now we got some color going. Okay, I think that should be enough. Let me check that. Right here. Okay. Now for a little bit of the Twisted Citron. There is a fly flying around here. Dash it all. Okay, now I'm going to take this and hit it with my heat tool and dry this ink. I'll be right back. Okay, all dry. Now I need to prepare it for the embossing. So I'm going to run my embossing tool all over the surface. This is an important step. Do not skip it. In case it's a little bit of moisture left in the distress ink, this will really cause problems if you skip this step. Okay, now I have my stamps already on my block, and taking my Versamark, I'm going to stamp over where I want the flowers and the leaves. So this is a solid stamp, so you have to really press hard to make sure, whoops, that was a little too hard, a good impression. It's one flower there and another flower here. And you don't see anything because this invisible Versamark, it doesn't show anything, but it's there. And now the leaves, and I'm careful not to accidentally stamp over where I've already stamped. And I have the paper here to make sure that I can protect my surface. I think like that. Okay. Now the Versamark stays wet a little bit longer. So if you've seen me do my clear over black embossing in many videos, I stress that you have to work quickly because this will dry. But the Versamark stays wet a little bit longer, so I have a little bit more time. Not a lot of time, but a little bit more. So I'm just dropping this into the clear and putting it right on there. You may be able to see it coming out now where I have stamped. Being careful not to take the other off. And tap off the extra. And you should be able, you can't really see the leaves, but you can see the flowers pretty good. Alright, I'm going to run this through my heat tool. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm not sure if you can, how well you can see it. You can probably see the flowers better than the leaves. But now to go to the next part, the fun part. Now you need a really juicy stamp pad for this. I'm re-inked my Distress ink pad and I hope it's wet enough for this. And it's a little bit shocking, but it's worth it. Just go over the whole thing just like I'm doing here with black. And you have to put it on really, really heavy for this to really look the best. I have been told that you can also run the ink pad directly over it. Let's see how that looks. Now I don't like that at all. Let's stick with this. So the where it has been embossed, it resists the ink that you're putting on. Hence the name Emboss Resist. And you can see the colors popping out really brightly. You might want to wear gloves while you do this because this is rather messy, as you can see. Getting fingerprints all over it. And I have an extra piece of paper because I didn't want to have all of this ink all over my pad and then everything will get inky. Okay, I think that's good enough. Set that aside and get some clean paper towel, dry, and just wipe off the extra ink over the embossing. It comes right off. Because the ink is sitting on the surface of the embossing. So you have to rub that off so you don't end up smearing it all over everything. Okay. There. So I'm going to hit this one more time with my heat tool because I want to make sure that this ink is dry because it's very wet right now, and I'll be right back. Okay, clear this away. I did a lot better job on this one than that one. I gave it a little bit more black also because I could see the red poking through here, but now it looks really good. Okay, now the rest of the card is very simple, so I'll just go speeding through that part. Okay, that's the finished card. This technique, it's a little bit messy, but the result is really pretty. You could also try doing this with other colors than black. You could try a dark navy or a brown. You could change these to butterflies instead of flowers. I might try a card like that later on today. Let me cover that since this is a boo-boo card. This is a better one. Okay, I would also like to thank my brother for providing the music, which I'm using on my channel. He's a great musician. Please check out his channel. And as always, nails by Q-Spun Nails. And I appreciate everyone watching my videos. Please try this yourself. Subscribe to my channel. I have a lot of content which I hope is helpful to you. Thank you and have a good day. Take care.